So I want to thank you again for coming out this afternoon to join with us in this consultation, which will lead to our manifesto. Most of you can recall 5 years ago we had a similar event hosted just across the road at the thriving restaurant. These consultations are very important for us as a party and as a brand. It speaks to our inclusivity and our partnership with the communities across the length and breadth of this dear land of Guyana. Not leaving any category out. And as you well know, that this brand represents the working class, still represents the working class, but we were able to manage an economy from the bottom up, top down. We have been able to produce a manifesto back in 2020 with the consultation of this similar group of individuals, and we were able to meet and in most cases exceed our expectations. We've been able to deliver on those promises. But more importantly, we were also able to find additional policy space to roll out initiatives that were not even catered for in that manifesto. That speaks to the efficiency and the governance model that we've used as a political party when we were in office. We know that this is a brand that brings value to the people of this country. This is a brand that you can trust. This is a brand that is robust. This is a brand with consistency. So if you track the brand of this political party or organization over the last 75 years, it is a very matured and solid brand representing the people of this country for the last 75 years. And we want to continue to bring value to the people of this great land of ours under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, on the leadership of our Prime Minister, who is now on official duties in Suriname, as well as the leadership of our dear General Secretary and Vice President. Cumulatively, if you look at these three fine gentlemen, we have about 80 years of experience in governance and security. A brand represented by stalwarts and individuals who have been tried and tested. Rest assured that your commitment to this brand brings humility, stability, and prosperity to this entire nation. We want to continue this movement. Let us grow this brand from strength to strength. This is the most inclusive political party, the most national party, the most viable party. There is no other political brand that has demonstrated consistently that it can represent the people of this great nation. We have leaders who can not only think locally but can act globally, protecting our sovereignty and territorial integrity, protecting our individual rights and liberty, respecting the Constitution, the laws of this country, and using those laws to guide our values and our principles. So this afternoon, let us continue to champion this brand. This is our brand, this is your brand. This is the brand that represents Guyana here at home, in the region, and internationally. Let us continue to lift the cup high. Let us continue to represent this symbol, because this symbol is not unique. This symbol is in every home, in every region across this country. This is how we presented ourselves, as a viable brand, trusted, robust, a brand that has withstood the test of time. We will continue to move forward together for a better Guyana. Thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity to welcome His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Irfaan Ali to give his remarks.
Please have your seats. Are you hearing me in the back? Yeah? All right. First of all, allow me to thank all of you for sharing your time with us this afternoon as we move forward on this journey in building prosperity, on this journey of building a stronger, better, more sustainable and resilient Guyana, in which every segment of our Guyanese population will rise and progress right here at home. We have made it very clear that as a party, we want to incorporate as widely as possible all the views of every segment of our population. The religious community, women, youth, farmers, those of our fisherfolk, businesses, ordinary citizens, athletes, every single segment, those in the creative industry, every segment of the Guyanese population, we want to be part of this discourse, because this is the discourse that will finalize the plan that will position Guyana to be a leader globally in some very key areas. Next week, for example, we will be hosting the Global Biodiversity Alliance here in Guyana. We have already shown the world that we can provide the best leadership on forestry and environmental services. Today, Guyana is a reference point globally on forests and environmental services. We're the reference point on food security. We will be the reference point on biodiversity. But what is important is that we want to be the reference point of a high quality life here in Guyana, in which our citizens will enjoy a quality of life that is second to none. So it is about building the framework. It's about creating the opportunities and investing in the key areas that are critical for the advancement of our country. We will not spend much time today on our track record, on everything we have done so far. I think in this room we have enough people who are capable of doing their analysis, enough people who are associated with the day-to-day development and movement of our country, and we don't need to go over that narrative with you. We want to spend as much time as possible today talking about the future, letting you understand what are the critical things we want us to pursue together as a people. and hearing from you also. What are your ideas? What are your additional thoughts? And even testing some of the ideas that we have here in the room. You're all aware that our development is crafted in a foundational document, which is the Low Carbon Development Strategy. The LCDS 2030 is not an environmental or climate strategy. It is a national development strategy that is being replicated around the world now. So I would urge as many of you, and maybe even our support team here, to ensure that we get in your hands. If you don't have it today, we can get it electronically to you. The LCDS, because it is an important reference document for all of us. So today is about framing what we want to achieve in the next 5 years. And the next 5 years are important because these are the years that will lay the bedrock, the foundation through which the development will take place, creating a united and prosperous Ghana, where there is sustainable management of our macroeconomic framework, where opportunities are created for our people, where our borders are defended, where our national sovereignty and territorial integrity is intact, where there is free expression of speech and democracy, where we have an open society, a vibrant society, a society in which people can achieve their aspirations. These are the things that will set us apart as we develop and as we move forward. Today, I want to say to you that one of the important things is about building an inclusive Guyana. But an inclusive Guyana for us is not only about inclusion of people. An inclusive Guyana is where all of Guyana are fully and optimally participating in the different areas of transformation for our country. For us, it's about economic inclusion, financial inclusion, technological inclusion, inclusion that will see every segment of the Guyanese population participating in investment opportunities, creating a social framework, social development that includes all of our people, moving towards a quality of life, political inclusion, people inclusion. And when I say people inclusion, it also involves our diaspora. How we're going to capitalize and mobilize our diaspora in this transformative journey ahead of us. When we talk about financial inclusion, it is about how we empower every household, how we improve the financial position, have more disposable income available. So there are clear strategies through which the inclusive Guyana will be built. Inclusion of women, children, inclusion of every segment of our Guyanese population. So this philosophy of inclusion is one that will guide everything that we do. It will guide the strategies for job creation, improving livelihoods, expanding economic opportunity, and involving young people in this new economy that we're building. It's important for us to understand that the new, and I made this point before, the new economy will be fueled by revenue from oil and gas and other segments of the economy. But wealth creation depends on the policy and the areas in which we invest that revenue to create jobs of the future, to ensure that the jobs of the future include the aspirations of our young people. That is why we want to have a highly skilled professional group in our country that will drive the development, that will improve our competitiveness, that will enhance the prospects of our country. So as we confront this future, there are some key areas that we have to address. First is what constitutes the fueling growth, creating jobs, and improving livelihood. Fundamental to this theme involves disposable income, expanded sources of revenue, and reducing the cost of living. Recently, I had the good fortunes of being in a room in which different policies from the region was being examined in relation to cost of living. And Guyana was singled out as one of the countries that would have embraced a holistic approach to cost of living issues, and as a result, we were able to ensure that most of the effect of global cost increases was not passed on to the final consumer. But how are we going to ensure in the future that more small businesses are involved in the development of our country? How are we going to ensure that they have access to capital? How are we going to ensure that the bureaucracy in getting access to capital is removed? How are we going to ensure that the banking system is modernized to support small and medium-sized enterprise? How are we going to ensure that we can leverage the liquidity in the banking system to support small and medium-sized enterprises? And more importantly, how are we going to ensure that we create sustainable opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises? These are the key issues. To do that, we have to invest in infrastructure. We have to invest in the opportunities. We have to diversify the economy. We have to move now to value creation. One of our most inhibitive factors in dealing with value creation is the cost of energy. Today we are on a journey of resolving the issue of cost of energy. Once we have that low-cost energy, manufacturing, industrial development, agro-processing, and all of those opportunities will come on stream. That is why we're investing heavily in our productivity also, ensuring that we can produce all our corn, all our soya, investing in an ecosystem to support small and medium-sized enterprises in the different areas, not only at a production level, but ensuring that we have all the international requirements, the sanitary requirements, we have the market orientation, we have all the trade barriers removed, and that is where the hard work is. Working to remove those trade barriers. So in the plan, we want to establish a development bank to support co-financing, to support access to liquidity, to reduce the cost of borrowing, and to remove the collateral requirement. Because these are the burdens that small and medium-sized enterprise face today. So if we are able to match lending with a 0% interest rate, we can bring down the interest rate in the commercial bank from 6% or 7% to 3% for SMEs. And then when we remove the risk, by making the matching rate to be able to remove the risk, the bank in turn will have to reduce that collateral requirement that is there right now. So access to financing becomes easier, much more simple, and at less cost. We're looking also at the opening up of hundreds of thousands of acres of new land, because we want to position Guyana as a food capital of the region. The construction and upgrading of farm-to-market access roads, investment in our drainage and irrigation system, co-investing in value-added opportunities. For example, we have the urea plant, fertilizer plant that we want to invest in. But we want Guyanese to own that plant, because that plant will contribute to national security. So every single Guyanese will have an opportunity to invest in that plant and have a decent return on their investment. It is not only about salary, increasing salaries. Many people look narrowly at increasing salary. It's increasing welfare. It's creating new opportunities of revenue for you, so that you can invest your resources. Because when you look at salaries, the government cannot be in a position where we're out-competing the private sector. And we have to look at ways in which persons can earn variable income by investing in opportunities in the country. And that is exactly what we want to pursue. Where the ordinary household can invest in various opportunities in the country, diversify their revenue in different areas for revenue for themselves and create prosperity the more. That is what creates prosperity. Not only increasing salaries, it's advancing opportunities, opening up new areas of opportunity. And that is what we'll be investing in. And when we speak about small and medium-sized enterprises, we're not speaking about those only in mining. We're speaking, those in agriculture. We're speaking about the small and medium-sized miners, those in mining, those in forestry, because these are key areas. Mining and forestry are areas in which we have to be able to support the small and medium-sized operators. And they need support in technology, they need support in capital, and they need support in infrastructure. Those are the three key areas that they require support in. And these are the areas in which we'll invest heavily to support them. We're also going to continue to review the local content legislation so that more and more opportunities can be delivered to our local private sector, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises. One of the unresolved issues that we'll continue to work on is the speed at which you receive payment in the oil and gas sector. That is something that affects many of you. Your cash flow is seriously affected. We are working with the banking sector so that they can create the instruments that will allow you to have access to capital through invoicing, through recognition of the contracts itself. We are not pleased at the pace at which the banking sector has been modernizing itself to use these tools, but we're going to create an enabling environment to have these tools utilized as anywhere else in the world. To back our investment for SMEs, we must continue to invest heavily in human capital. Investment in human capital is important, not only in the formal areas of education, but investing heavily in technical education and linking more training to economic opportunity. So when we look at creating entrepreneurs, we have to be able to link the type of technical education to economic opportunity, to earning opportunities. And we started that with the welding and fabrication program. We have to expand those programs. Look at the areas in the future that we want economic wealth to be created in, and then train the human capital to work in those areas. We also have to change mindset. We also have to change our mindset. When persons finish CXC, for example, we have to be able to have an education program that allows them to understand the opportunities in the economy and to pursue career path that also utilize the opportunities that is being created in the economy itself. So we're going to continue to invest, of course, in this world-class education system. We've already removed corporate tax from all private education providers, but we're going to expand this scholarship program, and we're going to go to more areas of specialization. We are building nursing schools. We want to take medical university and make medical education more accessible in the different regions. These are things that we're going to invest in. Region 6, for example, we have a teaching hospital that will be constructed at New Amsterdam. We have the Guyana Digital School that is being created to have equal access and bridge the divide across our country. So our modern education system deals with accessibility, equity in terms of delivery, having 100% trained teachers, then moving to train graduate teachers, and of course, in each category of employment, there is added incentives. So our education system will see continued investment because we want Guyana to be a hub of educational services so that we can earn revenue through that type of educational services. So one of the things that we have seen with a free university education now is that we have more than 20,000 applications, I was told, at the University of Ghana. So we're discussing at the moment how we use the same rates at the University of Ghana that we are financing in the private universities. Because many of the private universities would have written us and say, listen, we can offer the same degree program that UT is offering at universities in UK and other places at the same rate that the University of Ghana is charging, so that they want to be involved in that program. And because of the high demand that is coming in at the University of Ghana now, we will be consulting with those providers to see how we can include them in the pre-education program up to that value. Because today, more of our young people with opportunity in hand want to be doctors, pharmacists, medical technologists, so we don't want to deny them that opportunity. So we're going to maximize all the available institutions and opportunities within our country. I know a lot of people are suffering from the hot room right now, but don't worry, we have to be resilient. Important also in the development of our country is ensuring that we have a safe country, a secure country. We want to ensure that people can live in safety and feel secure in every single community. That is why we're going to be deploying technology at its maximum. Not only we're looking at e-ticketing and having digital security solutions across our country, but the EID card that we're creating will also enhance the investment that we're making in security. We want people to have a quality of life in which they're secure in their homes, they're secure on the streets. So we'll have a more agile security architecture, supported heavily by technology, so that we can remove human biases in the system. People can have faster access to justice, more equitable access to justice. These are things that are important to quality of life, and these are the things that we're going to invest in when it comes to quality of life. So, the creating a safe and secure country also requires us to have good infrastructure. We have just started a program of providing lighting on every street so that people can feel safe on the streets in the night. You started a program of cleaning up communities, and this is a big part of securing our communities, having clean communities, communities in which we can have our children and our family moving safely from a health perspective, from a hardcore security perspective, from a recreational perspective. All of this forms part of that safety net, that safe community and environment that we want to create. And the religious community must also play a key role in this. That is why we said that we're going to embrace a program in which we're going to leverage the power of our religious organizations, churches, mosques, temples within the community, financially supporting them so that they can be part of building our country from community all the way up. So security is about promoting a citizen-friendly, community-oriented security apparatus. That is important for us, ensuring that it's a citizen-friendly. We're now on the verge of signing on to a new technology to support women who are affected by domestic violence and other forms of violence. What are we doing for them? There is now the digital button that we're investing in that is connected to a central database. And once we have persons who have made a report, we give them one such digital button. And with the press of a button, they will be able, the security forces and those persons who are in the central unit will be able to know that they're in danger, where they are, and send support and help for them. So it is simple to find out. This is what the modern technology is going to be a major part of what we're doing. Affordable homes and stronger communities. We want to invest so that every single Guyanese family will not only own a house lot, but will be able to own their own homes. We have been able to reduce the cost of interest rate substantially. We now have a ceiling for New Building Society at $30 million. We have tax incentive rebate that you get for investment in your homes. But we're going to continue to find new and innovative ways in which we can make it even easier for you to own your own homes with interest rate, tax incentives, financial incentives, subsidies. We already have the steel and cement subsidy. We are going to expand those existing frameworks because we want every single Guyanese family to own their own home in the 5 years. We want those who have land to move from land ownership to home ownership, because home ownership is part of family empowerment, community empowerment. It improves your net value. It gives you leverage to capital. You know, we were talking recently to some young professionals. They paid $22 million for their home right here in Providence. The bank is now valuing those homes at a minimum of $75 million. That is an investment of $22 million that gives you liquidity up to $75 million so you can reinvest in the opportunities that we are creating. That is how we will create prosperity. That is how we will create new forms of wealth. When we can give you the opportunity to increase your net value, your net asset worth, and then create the opportunities and the vehicle through which you can invest that improvement to get more income for yourself and expand your revenue base as a family. So affordable homes, stronger community is also about improvement in infrastructure within the community. We know that we have to resolve the small drainage problems in the community, the garbage problems within the community. These are things that we must fix, and fix now, in building a modern society, in building a society that gives you the quality of life that we want you to enjoy. Then we have also the investment in infrastructure to unlock opportunities and improve welfare. What are we doing? We are looking to interconnect all the regions of our country, but whilst we interconnect the regions of our country, we are looking to open up new opportunities by creating access to new lands. Hundreds of thousands of acres of new lands will be created. We are looking at opening up opportunity for new areas of forestry, mining. These are things that are key and important. That is why we are already talking about linking Timeri to Sand Hill to Region 7, and then the Goshen Road coming up to the Del Ponte route going all the way to Bharrat. So you can be driving from Region 7, connected to Region 3, connected to Region 10, connected to Region 4, and then a new bridge across the Barbies River going all the way connected to Region 6, and then connecting all the way over the Coronty River to Suriname. That is the infrastructure link. What we call it a new development link and development route that will open up markets, open up opportunities, because we are positioning Guyana to be an energy hub for the region. We have to create the logistics and transportation infrastructure to support the investments that we are making to make Guyana that central hub for the Caribbean and the rest of the region. So our infrastructure is not just about building out, it's about building out opportunities, creating growth, expanding the economy, and investing in the people and communities across our country. If we are going to just go through some of the transformative infrastructure, we already spoke about the arena, the indoor arena. This is important for our tourism product. It's important for all the hotels that we're building. We have to be in a position to welcome 3 million people through our economy by 2030 because of services that we are building. To do that, we have to have world-class facility, a world-class arena, so we can host any international event, whether it's the MMA, whether it's boxing, whether it's international concerts, and we have to bring those things so that we create opportunities here in Guyana. We're talking about a new stadium in Region 6, the new stadium in Region 3. We're talking about new hospitals, many new hospitals, private hospitals, because we want Guyana also to be a medical tourism hub. These are the things that we're investing in. major investment coming from leaders in ecotourism services, nature-based tourism. We have all-inclusive resorts that are coming, already in the pipeline, already in the final stages of discussion. These are the things that will create the next level of opportunities and wealth for our country. So investment, we are talking about the Wales Development Authority and the Wales Industrial Hub. That's the first gas line. But we're already planning ahead to the second gas line that will be linked to the deepwater port in Barbados, giving us for the first time an opportunity to leverage the energy opportunity that will come with that, so that we can now move towards the opportunities that exist in value creation for our bauxite, creating cheaper power, enabling an industrial and manufacturing hub in Region 6, linking that manufacturing and industrial hub to Region 3 with infrastructure, investment in infrastructure. The new road that is going to Letem, linking to northern Brazil already. The Caribbean has signed on to Guyana being the regional food hub. The opportunities that will create for transport and logistics. We're now working on the final stages of having the barriers for the movement of the food removed. You've just signed an agreement with Bloomberg Grains, one of the best world-class facilities that will work with us on accessing all the global markets. That is what we're doing. Building out opportunities, creating and investing in infrastructure that will lead to mind-blowing opportunities ahead of us. Of course, key to our strategy is a digital Guyana, an inclusive digital Guyana, where access to technology will enable us to compete, where access to technology will reduce the time. Access to technology will allow us to reduce the time it takes to catch up with the rest of the world. Digital education, digital health, digital traffic management, digital renewal of license and other government services. The digitization of Guyana is aimed at removing the bureaucracy from the system. It is enabling the system. It is aimed at removing the biases, reducing leakages in the system, improving transparency, enhancing productivity and competitiveness. That is what the digital strategy is all about. Leapfrogging Guyana into the next phase of global advancement and development. In this digital strategy and the strategy of building this strong Guyana, of course, we have to ensure that our hinterland communities, our Amerindians, women and children, that they have access to opportunities. And we have specific development that you can follow in some of the literature we have already shared with you. You have specific ideas, specific programs to target these various groups. We want to ensure that our brothers and sisters living with different forms of disability, that they are involved in the active economic life of our country. So we want to use technology to create opportunities for them, economic empowerment, to give them also the opportunity to earn and live in dignity, and live in pride, and have a quality life also. Investment in sporting infrastructure facilities that allow our athletes to have the best training facility, to be well prepared, to give them the best opportunity to shine as best as they can. These are the things that are important. Investing in recreation facilities, community grounds, because quality of life requires an entire ecosystem that supports world-class health, world-class education, world-class recreation, world-class infrastructure, and a support mechanism that allows person to grow and develop. Now, all of this must be supported by strong governance. It must be supported by strong governance. We're going to continue to invest in improving the governance mechanism of our country. We have the constitutional reform process that is ongoing. We have to ensure that our judiciary continues to be reformed and that there is a level of predictability that is based on quality, a quality judiciary and quality personnel functioning within the judiciary. We have to ensure that there is efficiency in the way the judiciary operate. Every level, every branch of government will have to be reorganized in this new economy for the efficiency that we want to achieve. And we want to make it very clear that our traditional sectors, our rice farmers, we already said that we have to invest in ensuring there is price stability for our rice farmers, setting a minimum benchmark so that they will know that the government will support them. We have to set up a stabilization fund. I know when the Vice President was president, we had a big discussion around this. How can we create that stabilization fund? We have worked for years on getting insurance for our rice farmers. Today, we have been successful in getting insurance for 6,000 rice farmers. And we're going to launch that program very soon. We're going to invest in facilities to help them with storage and the drying facility for rice, but also the storage, so that we can have a massive storage area for growing production, and we can have that storage area linked to markets. So if there is a fall in price, we know that we have enough storage area to cushion us for a longer period until the price gets better. It's creating an enabling environment for stabilization of these industries. The poultry industry, for example, we're doing backward and forward linkages now, where we're planting and investing in all the production that is required to create the feed right here, to manufacture the feed right here. And then in the forward linkage, supporting investment in the in processing facilities. Because value creation is what is going to take us to the next level. For young people, we are now working to have an aviation school. I see young Jerry here. An aviation school, not just for pilots, but for every category of the aviation world. Because today, the gap, aviation and nursing, are the two areas with the largest human resource gap globally. And we have to prepare our young people for these opportunities. When we speak to our young people, some of the things that they want, you want access to vehicles. You want low taxes on vehicles. Am I not right? Yes. We're going to have a special mechanism through which four-door vehicles, the four-door pickup, will come at lower taxes. It seems that that's the only thing that excites you. But when you look at taxation, I want you to know that we're going to pursue a taxation system that is going to lower the tax burden, improve tax compliance, and put more money back in your pockets. That is the strategy. But I want to make it clear, all of you will have to work with us on this. Because when we lower taxes, we have to ensure that tax compliance, the tax base, that everyone pay their taxes. Because once this happens, more and more incentives can be given to the population. Including Lamborghini. Oh, y'all don't worry about Lamborghini. Let me stick to the four-door pickup. All right, so this is important because we want you to own more things. Let me make it very clear. Scott spoke about working class principles. Working class principles does not mean we don't support the business community. We have to support the business community because the business community must be able to grow. We want our businesses to become more wealthy. We want our farmers to become more wealthy. We want all of man to become more wealthy. And we're going to support, we're going to create the incentives. We're going to pursue the policies that will generate more wealth. The country must not only grow, individuals, families, businesses, every single person must grow. That is what we're investing in. So, as we pursue this future, as we pursue these strategies and these ideas, it is important that all of us understand our responsibility. And listen, this strategy also requires of us the new city, exciting projects ahead of us. But these strategies will also require from us a new way of thinking. We will have to change the way we approach different issues. We can have the best policies, but if we don't change our thinking, if we don't change our approach, then we will not be able to optimize the benefit of those strategies and policies. So, as we continue to work towards financial empowerment, financial literacy is important. And when we speak about financial empowerment, by the end of this year, we will complete the work on having the single payment platform ready for Guyana. And that is the same payment platform that the developing world and developed world is using. The payment platform would allow you to sit from your home, transfer your accounts between banks, between accounts, make payments. This is what is needed for us to improve our competitiveness. You don't have to stand in lines at the bank. The modern society is not about lines. It's about ease of access. It's about removing bureaucracy, comfort in doing business. And our local banking sector will have to get up to speed with these reforms that must take place and will take place in the immediate future. So, financial literacy, financial inclusion, capital market reforms, and innovative investment instruments are some of the things. You know, many of you, when I go through the suggestions that already came in, you're speaking about creating special bonds, development bonds, diaspora bonds. These are the things that we're going to pursue so that we can raise financing within our population and even in the diaspora itself and give them the opportunity to get the returns from those financing, those opportunities. The idea here is to give these large-scale national opportunity to Guyanese first, to give it to our population first. So the grants, the increase in salaries, increase in old age pension, increase in subsidies, improvement on taxes, those are things that will come naturally with the People's Progressive Party Civic government. But we're talking about beyond that, the transformative agenda. What constitutes this transformative agenda that is going to create sustainable, long-lasting wealth? By 2027, we will have two of the largest mining production operational here in Guyana. Outside oil and gas, we will have more FPSO coming on board. By 2027, two of the largest mines in South America will be operational here in Guyana. This is, right now, one who already started recruitment. They're looking for over 1,200 workers now, and they can't find those workers. And that's an issue. I know many of you have already raised. Where the workforce will come from. That is why we are in the final stages now of reviewing all of the migration documentation and labor laws that other countries would have utilized to come up with our own migration policy and strategy to support the development. The Attorney General Office, they have already drafted the framework for that new legislation because we need the people to push this development. But we are going to ensure one thing: we maximize what we have here. The creative industry. We want our artists to be performing all over the world. Right. That is why we're going to invest in infrastructure to support them. Not only the studios, but grants, so that they can enhance their own skill set. And how do you do this? You do this by creating infrastructure. If we can bring 5 or 6 international concerts here and ensure that they are given the opportunity to be showcased on those stages, it gives them presence. We're investing also in sports tourism. You've seen in just 2 years how the Global Super League is growing. This is a product that will be owned by Guyana. Just research. Just research what these tournaments are doing for other countries. And with the size of our diaspora, we have to leverage that diaspora power. Important in the development strategy. So as we pursue, you have some of the literature before you. I don't want to keep you much longer. I can go through with you a long list of infrastructure, hinterland roads, major investment in the hinterland for forestry sector or mining sector. But what you will see at the end of this 5 year is the infrastructure interlink and loop that we are creating to connect every single region of Guyana with the aim of opening up new opportunity, new lands, and expanding our economic prospects. That is what is right. That is what is right. Finally, I will say also to achieve these things, the structure of government, the structure of our government itself will have to change to reflect these priorities, to reflect these new areas of development. We have to look at efficiency and competitiveness in government. That is going to be a major aspect of our work, enhancing our implementation rate, looking at government efficiency and ways in which competitiveness is maintained within the economy. These are the investments that are critical. But at the end of these 5 years, we want Guyana to be the leader in this region on energy, on food, on biodiversity services, on climate and forest services. Those are 5 things that we must be recognized for globally, provide global leadership, and be the custodian of a think tank here. We must be a population that is highly skilled, highly motivated, competitive. We're talking about, in 3 years, a situation where every single teacher will not only be trained, but be a trained graduate. Most of them a trained graduate with postgraduate qualification. And we're incentivizing every single additional qualification our teachers, our nurses. But today, national development is not only about public servants and who are working in public service. It's about the private sector employees and ensuring that we have policies that give them opportunities also. The government cannot be in competition with the private sector, as I said. We have to create an enabling environment in which every single young person in public service or out of public service, every single Guyanese can have access to opportunities that will accelerate their own development. So today, I want to stop here, and I want to say to all of you that we have an exciting future ahead of us. We have an exciting future ahead of us. This future requires bold decision, it requires risk-taking, it requires experience. Handling our territorial challenges and our sovereignty is not a simple task. Sometimes we make things look very simple. But it requires constant negotiations, constant relationship building. It requires having international presence. today, every single state in the world is celebrating our stint at the United Nations Security Council. And we should all be proud of it. We have stayed with certain values that drive our foreign policy, values that drive our development, people-centered, people-oriented, values that drive the new wave of wealth creation, the key areas of investment. These are important because our economy must be one that is balanced. We have seen around us countries that made the mistake of treating oil, of treating natural resources, revenue, as wealth. We have seen around us, Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, natural resources revenue is not wealth, it is revenue to be invested to create wealth. And that is what we're doing. That is what we're doing. So I want to stop here. I want to thank you very much for your time. And of course, the discourse will follow, and the Vice President and General Secretary will now address us and outline the course of action to follow. Thank you.
His Excellency just provided us with a broad framework of Guyana's development trajectory, which is built on a perpetual, virtuous cycle or circle that is built on inclusivity, driven by good governance with a focus on citizen security, economic security, our national security, and all of the social pillars that anchor development. Mr. President, thank you very much for your remarks, and I would like to now call our General Secretary and Vice President.
Thank you very much. We're very fortunate to have President Ali as our president. There is no other candidate in this race now who can so easily navigate very complex issues that are important for our country. You just have to listen to them. From some you get sloganeering, people-centered development. That's all you hear from them, but without being able to elaborate details. And then a whole series of promises that are not sustainable and would lead us to economic ruin. And then from others, it's just shortly and soon. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking back to 5 years ago when we had a similar exercise at the new thriving restaurant just across the road. We were preparing our manifesto and we thought it important to include the voices of the people of this country. So we had originally planned the consultations for this hotel. And then APNU bullied the management of the hotel to cancel our event. And so we had to hold it at the new thriving restaurant. But it wasn't the venue that mattered. It was the content and the participation. And I want to thank all of you for taking your time to be here today. And every word that you say, we will seriously consider your suggestions before we complete our manifesto. Now, you would have seen a document that we've circulated, and it's titled Commitments and then Additional Commitments. So over the past several years, we've been on the ground. We know what the people's issues are. And those commitments you see there are reflective of the concerns that we have encountered on the ground, and we've proposed the solutions. The solutions did not come just from the party, came from a process that we started not just long ago, but more recently, when the party invited people through WhatsApp and a physical box at Freedom House to drop in their suggestions. I have with me a shortened version of all the suggestions we received. Over 2,000 persons took their time to make submissions, and we have over 5,000 submissions that we had to summarize that came from different individuals. Now, there was a lot of repetition, but we are grateful that they took their time and sent in those suggestions. So what we have here is we've invited more institutions to be here and different sectors of the economy, because we've had a widespread consultation through this means already. And some of the commitments you've seen on our flyer that will be taken to every home and that you have before you, those came out of that initial interactive process that we had. Today we are looking to elaborate on these and also to complete our manifesto, which will be launched sometime later this month. By the very nature, manifesto is a small document, so we will not be able to elaborate every plan that we've had, because we've received submissions from the creative industries, from people living with disability, from those who are concerned about the carnage on our roads, from a whole broad group of sectors and individuals and NGOs who have made excellent suggestions in a very detailed way. We can't include all of these in our manifesto. We will speak about the broad heads in the manifesto, key policies, but do not think for a moment that we will not take into consideration the details of your submissions later. Because we can, if we were to include that, we'll have a manifesto listed. And a very thin one, APNU doesn't even want to read that, much less a big one if we give it to them. So so if you don't see every idea that you have reflected, know that there is a commitment to addressing these and elaborating plans. Even if you were to go back to 2020 and our promises there, we focused in the many promises we made, which we've all fulfilled. We specified what those promises are. So when we said we will reverse the taxes, 200 plus taxes, which we did, and it cost us $50 billion, and put $50 billion back in the pockets of people who had to pay those taxes. And when we said we will introduce no new taxes in the 5 years in office, which we promised, which we kept, those were vital promises that had to be implemented if we were going to reboot the economy, which was already suffering malaise on the 5 years under APNU because of the adverse policies. Not just taxes, but other adverse policies. So that was a crucial promise. A promise to, for example, do 50,000 house lots was because there was no housing program. But when we promised world-class health care, we just put a broad head there. We did not elaborate in great details. But when we got into office, we elaborated an entire plan. Although we had just made a broad promise there, we elaborated the entire plan that included 12 new hospitals, the rehabilitation of all the remaining hospitals, the training of large numbers of healthcare personnel, recruiting people from abroad, ensuring that we have drugs in the hospital and medical supplies in the hospital, which was absent on the APNU, that we started doing tertiary care once again. I don't want to elaborate everything. So here too, you're going to see maybe in the digital industry, where we've had the detailed submissions from the creative industry, you would see support for or incentivizing content creation and then protecting content created locally. But we're not going to in detail every suggestion here because that could happen later. So if you don't, you submitted a 10-page document, we can't get all of it in the manifesto, but there's a strong commitment to addressing the issue there. And you will see the most important things addressed here. So the president focused a lot on important, very substantive issues. And often, the framework, and he touched the framework, he mentioned the low carbon development strategy, and he mentioned sound macroeconomic management. And sometimes these things are overlooked because in our environment, where the politics is focused often on personalities and not policies, people tend to look at, evaluate you on promises. They don't think sustainability, they don't think framework. For us in the People's Progressive Party, we've always taught framework. We launched one of the first low carbon development strategies in the world. We had the NDS, nearly seven volumes of planning done in the 90s, thousands of pages that laid out almost in every sector of the economy what we wanted to achieve in the long run. And that is why when recently APNU tried to claim credit for the bypass road, we showed that we had the route map since 2003. We had a consultant, the bypass from Ogle to Eccles and the Mandela to Diamond and then to the airport. We had a high-span bridge across the Demerara River and the Berbice River since in 1996, the year that we handed over the manifesto to Dr. Jagdeo. Not the manifesto, the NBS, the first draft of the NBS. We have consistently had a long vision of things. And that differentiates us from the other side. They don't have any vision, no plan, and that is why all you get are a series of unsustainable promises. So why did we need that long-term vision? Because the country was insolvent in 1992. Imagine a government taking office which, according to Carl Greenwich's own words, was faced with the debt overhang being 9 times the size of your economy, 930%, and having to use 153% of revenue to service debt that was scheduled. When you got the write-off, the actual was 94%. That is the starting point. So, although we were planning to change the country, we had to address the macro issues first. You could not have had a sustainable Guyana or because we were ranked by McIntyre as being poorer than Haiti. Sir Alistair McIntyre has been poorer than Haiti in that period when he did a report on Guyana. So that was crucial to addressing, because there's no strategy for the future without sustainable macroeconomics. And the interest rates were 40%. Imagine mortgage rates, 43, the president just told. Imagine 43%. You have to take a loan to build a home. In 2 years, your principal would double, basically. You couldn't build with that. The inflation rate was triple digit. The fiscal deficit was 25% of GDP. The balance of payment deficit was like 47% of GDP. So every 2 years to finance the BOP, you have to double the country's debt with the rest of the world. In every 4 years, if you have a fiscal deficit of 25% of GDP, you have to double the government's debt. It was a basket case. The PPP, through its leadership, like up to 2015, when we left before oil, although we just found oil when we lost the elections. At that time, the debt to GDP ratio came down from 913% to about 40% of GDP, one of the lowest figures in the world before oil. And we were spending at that time about 10% of revenue to service debt. Today, it's one even lower. The last time we checked, it was about 16% of GDP, one of the lowest figures in the world again, in spite of the borrowing, and we're using just about 5% of revenue to service debt. Again, one of the lowest figures anywhere in the world. And it would only get lower in the future. So you can rest assured that we are not short-term people. We don't do things for expedience, and we will not be able to fulfill any of these promises without us having a sound macroeconomic environment. None of the promises can be fulfilled. Interest rates have come down. Look at where the private mortgage rates are. He's been a fierce campaigner for this since he was minister. Mortgage rates now lower than even in the US in some cases. And the same thing with inflation rate, etc. With single digit inflation, even through COVID. So that's the one important thing that you can expect from us, a continuation of some macroeconomic management. So what will happen, just sitting here writing, that our economy has changed a bit now. We have the oil and gas sector. So the traditional management tools that you use have to be enhanced, because now we run the risk of having the Dutch disease because of the windfall revenue. So you need to be very careful and deliberate in how you manage this, because other countries have not done so. That is why they destroyed their economies, as the president said. Venezuela, others. They splurge, they change relative prices, they kill the other sectors of the economy by this change in relative prices because of the exchange rate policy when it appreciates. And then before you know it, your entire country is relying for revenue only from one sector. And then, when that happens, because with any resource industry, it's very volatile on the world market. So prices collapse there, the whole country economy collapses. The president has been aggressive in laying out the diversification plan, the focus on agriculture, the creative industries, the services sector, the connection with Brazil, all to create new growth poles that will create the wealth of the future. So we are already working on a post-oil and gas economy and a diversified economy, although we are just starting to produce oil and gas. Some countries have been producing oil and gas for 75 years, and they don't have a post-oil and gas strategy. We already started working on that because that's important to sustain any future prosperity. It's important so that the prosperity doesn't become periodic or ephemeral. It disappears one day. That is sustained for generations to come. And so you can expect that to happen in the next 5 years. Continued work on ensuring this. Our taxation policy now will evolve. You heard the President mention lower taxes to increase more disposable income to people. But there are several principles that have guided us in, again, addressing taxation. So one is more money in people's pocket. Two is that it has to be family friendly, and we've started orienting the taxation system to support families. That is why now we are introducing allowances, and that will only go for people with families, children, etc. It has to incentivize economic activities. So the poultry industry, the fisheries industry, the miners would see a favorable taxation policy. The rice farmers, every industry would see that, because our taxation system must not penalize the wealth creation. It must incentivize the manufacturing sector. That is what we focus on. Imagine they were putting taxes on pesticides, fertilizer, on equipment for miners, or if you were agriculture or manufacturing industry, you bring in a factory, you have to pay back. That is what. So the taxation system will evolve to do that. Then it will also evolve to reward hard work. If people put in more effort, they must keep more of their money. And that is why we have put in an allowance now for overtime, for second jobs, etc. So that is the principle that guides us. We're not working on the basis of one day waking up and doing it. We're underpinned by a vision, a set of principles. And these are the things that will guide our taxation policy in the future. Our borrowing policy, we don't borrow to eat. We borrow to invest in the future. It's either for capital formation in two sectors. In the economic sector, so roads, bridges, etc., that will create greater wealth or support the creation of greater wealth. And secondly, in social infrastructure. That's our schools and hospitals, etc. It is our hope that in the future, as we get more revenue, we'd have to borrow less to finance the program, because the budget will be supporting more from revenue. So like the entire East Bank Road here, the Heroes Highway, we're funding from the budget. There is no borrowing there. On the road across in Region 3 from Crane to the bridge. That's budget. Money is spending there, revenue. So sometimes when you see the big increase in the budget, it's for a specific purpose. So our borrowing policy will be attenuated, but we have the capacity to borrow without burdening future generations. But it doesn't mean that because we have that capacity, we borrow to consume as absolute gift. They were declared uncreditworthy in 1989 it was, because they were just borrowing to sustain the importation, not to, because at that time there was no capital formation. They were not investing in the areas. So you will see that. In our fiscal policy will support more what I just said. And then that will create, as the President said, more space for the private sector. Because if we can fund more of our activities, we'll not keep crowding out the private sector from the domestic banking system. When that happens, interest rates tend to come down, because the state can finance its own activities, and it will be less inflationary. So these are just some of the things. I'm not going to go through the exchange rate policy. You see it now. The exchange rate policy will support the key objectives of ensuring that we don't go down the route of the Dutch disease. But at the same time, we must have enough resources to support legitimate transactions for our people. And we have that capacity. We'd have to make sure that we have a better management of it and that we look at all that it's not being exploited. We have a liberal financial system. We have an open financial system. Most of the Caribbean countries have exchange controls. We don't have exchange control in Guyana, and some are now capitalizing on this to finance their economic activities. Now, some of that will happen, but we can't be funding a second country's economic activity. We want to keep our resources to fund our own growth and development here in Guyana. So that's how we exchange rate policy. So I was just looking at some of the things that the President just mentioned. So responsible management of the economy, that's the creative and sustainable management of natural resources, another big head. So the first big head is responsible management of our economy, ensuring a post-oil and gas economy with new growth goals to create the wealth of the future, that we invest in that, sustain prosperity. The second big head is creative and sustainable management of natural resources. We have abundant natural resources. So we, from our natural and other resources, our fisheries, but also our forests, our mines, everything. The whole management of natural resources. When the LCDS was launched, we did it. We set out a framework. But why I said creative? Because we're one of the few countries that have been able to monetize the safeguarding of our national patrimony, because we linked it to a global objective. And therefore, we're using those resources now to transform our country. Where the $750 million we earned from the sale of 30% of our forest carbon, 20% has gone to the Amerindian communities already, transforming the lives of people in those communities, 240-something communities. But the rest of the money is being spent right here safeguarding us against climate change, because we are now funding adaptation measures along the coast. Hope-like canals, several in Berbice, etc., cokers, pumping capacity. So you, your families, your businesses don't have, when what is already inevitable, that you don't lose the entire rice crop or the sugar industry, or your homes get flooded out because of the variable and intense weather patterns that we now experience. So that's why I said creative. We're the only party that has been able to do that. Set out the framework and then use creativity to fund a lot of what other countries are looking for funding for and can't find because they're fiscally stressed budgets. We've been able, without recourse to the Treasury, to be able to finance and safeguard our country in that regard. So that's the second big head. The third big head is massive investment in human capital, and I don't need to elaborate on that. The education, the health, and our people generally. The third big head, the President mentioned it, is keeping our communities clean and safe. Garbage and security cameras and proper policing, from keeping them safe. People not now worry that, when they go to work, someone is jumping into their home and stealing what they earned for all the time. And then keeping our borders intact. So major investment in security, to keep our country's borders intact, and then our community safe. So I was just scribbling here. Okay. The next one, big head, is ensuring equity in the distribution of resources. So that's why we're looking at the inclusion, people living with disability, the indigenous communities that are away from the coast, the rural-urban divide, moving resources to rural areas too, that they can, and services that they can't experience now because they live far from the city. Connecting people in that regard with roads and services. So a big area is that, and then the President already mentioned supporting the religious community, which it's also using them to advance a lot of the reduction in disparity in the distribution of wealth. But the state would always use the principle of equitable distribution. Doesn't mean equal, equitable distribution of wealth. So look at it. The next big area is accountability at every level. The President mentioned the judiciary and the branches in the government and efficient government. So accountability and efficiency. We have to introspect how we deliver services to people. The judiciary has to be much more accountable. The President has done something never done before. Look at the complement of judges. It's increased that significantly. Now, if you look at the resources going to the judiciary, the salaries there, they're competitive like with anywhere else. And we now need to see the fair and fast adjudication of cases. And the excuses should disappear now. Police accountability. Too often, we take the heat for unaccountable police inaction. But I don't want to disparage policemen because they've made a they've done a great job in keeping our country safe. And sometimes the occasional bad things that happen cloud everything, the successes they have made. But clearly, accountability and the focus on efficiency in government delivery. The President mentioned again, pensions. Rather than every pensioner having to come to get the pension paid into their account, the cash grant in the future get paid somewhere else. Then the next big head is the creation of opportunities for all Guyanese at every level, rich and poor. And then supporting them through the development bank, through education, through other means, good policies, to take advantage of the wealth creation. We want every Guyanese to get wealthy. Whether you have nothing now or you're a big businessman, we want everybody to grow. And then, of course, the long-term planning for the oil and gas sector. I don't want to go on too long because we've done the thing here. It's just a framework. I want every one of you to understand what you see in that flyer can be read in isolation from the framework that guides us. We didn't map out the entire framework in the flyer, but I think we may need to do that in the final product when the manifesto comes out. So this is your reading this, the flyer, in conjunction with what I just said. I want to thank all of you again for being here. We really appreciate your presence. Thanks.